What does yoga mean to you? I'd love to know. I'd love to know if you have any experience with yoga and what it has meant to you thus far. If you have any kind of practice, if you've been to a class, or yeah, just in general. And allow me to share with you my journey through yoga and what it has done for me, to me, through me. So I came to yoga for the physical benefits, right? I wanted to be strong, more flexible. I couldn't touch my knees when I first started doing yoga. I've always had very tight hamstrings, and I can't palm the floor yet, and I'm totally all right with that. And in the beginning, when I started, I had the mindset of wanting to get to certain postures, certain levels of flexibility. I was striving, and I was kind of missing the point of the practice. Now, there's nothing wrong with coming to a yoga class with the intention of getting stronger, getting fitter, because a great yoga class, actually, it doesn't matter what your intention is, you will leave not just stronger and working on space in your body, but it actually works on your energetics, on your, as I call it with my kids, your invisible body. Stay with me. So yeah, I came for the physical benefits. And then when you come to your mat with a bit more frequency, then you notice that there is an element of mindfulness that just naturally arises when you can come and be with your body and be with your breath and be present. Your practice invites presence, where you just focus entirely on your breath and on moving your body if you're doing a physical asana practice. And eventually, as you keep showing up, the mind starts to settle, and we start to experience gaps in between the thoughts. And that, my friends, is the yoga. So we do our yoga to get to the state of yoga. And the state of yoga, yoga means union, actually. And you might think yoga is union between the body and the mind. And there's an element of that. Breath and body. There's lots of things that yoga unites. But actually what happens when we have the gaps in between the thoughts, our natural state, our state without any external expectations, without any of this mind stuff telling us one thing or another, natural state of peacefulness, of joy, of bliss, of love starts to arise. And the ever-present connection between, I like to say, between you and you arises. So between the I that we identify with in the world and the universe, the cosmos, whatever word you want to put on it, the higher self, God. There's a connection, love. That natural state, that natural connection, the yoga, the yoking, the joining, the togethering is what happens when we find those gaps in between thoughts. It's our natural state. And I first discovered this natural state through the movement, through moving my body with intention. And there's so much power that comes from just being and basking and bathing in this state of being, in this state of love that naturally flows to us and through us and from us. And I was going through a very interesting time in my life when I started my regular yoga practice through my yoga teacher training. And when this idea, this concept of what yoga truly is was introduced. So it's interesting because it's the same with anything in life. You get out of it what you put into it. So originally I was coming for fitness and I was getting fitter, and my emotional body, my mental body, everything was becoming more balanced as a beautiful byproduct of the postures that I was doing. And when I was coming to the mat with the intentionality of cultivating the state of yoga, and not just that, but with the intention of me being my best, most beautiful state in the world for my family and for others, then I could hold on to that. And this isn't very yogic to say, but there's just a huge element of unfuckawithability that comes along with that state of being, because you start to understand that, so the union in yoga is there's you and there's everything outside of you. And when you can understand that actually there's a connection between everything in the world, absolutely everything, then we start to drop judgments and we start to bring an element of compassion in. And not only that, but it enhances our state of power, because it enhances our state of responsibility. So now there's me and there's everything else in the world. What I experience happens entirely inside of me. So I have a feeling come up. I might think it's because someone's behaved in a certain way, but it's my feeling. It comes up in my system. And therefore, I have the power. I got the power to change that, to transmute that, to be with that feeling and to allow it to shift. So there's alchemy in this practice. We can turn up to this practice with whatever we've got going on. Maybe there's an anger, there's a resentment, there's a feeling of other causing upset in my system. And you can bring that to your mat. You can offer it up. And energy can only be transformed, right? It doesn't disappear, it just gets recycled. And we can allow that shift to happen, and for that energy to get shifted into something that feels more coherent, that feels more loving, that feels better in our own bodies. That's in a nutshell a few covered a few parts of what the yoga practice is and what it means to me. It's such a beautiful and powerful spiritual practice. I didn't have really spirituality. I kind of had a sense, I was agnostic. That's the way I described myself before I did this teacher training, and then I had this visceral experience of connection that could only be described as spiritual. And so, yeah, I invite you to keep an open mind and to not take my word for anything. Start your practice, whatever that means to you. Now, yoga doesn't just mean the physical moving the body. It can also be breath work. It can also be meditation. I'm starting a community which we're going to focus in on movement, because that's how I started this journey inward, this uncovering, shedding of layers that were in the way of this natural state that is ever present. So yeah, if you'd like to know more about that, then get in touch. And if you have a yoga practice, if you are gonna start one now, then I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment, or get in touch on email, or I'll leave my Facebook thingy in the description. And with that, I feel like I've run out of words now, so I'm going to stop. But yeah, lots of love, and I will be back tomorrow.